you would hope in this climate of, Luxon coming out talking about tax cuts, that the most vulnerable would also be thought of by National.
Oh, fuck no.
But
no.
But when they think of them, it's really to score points in benefit bashing. Because, of course, every election cycle, like the sun comes up in the sky, like the moon goes around the earth. Oh, shit, does it go around the earth? Yeah, that's right. I'm just thinking about it. I get so involved in joke conversations around the flat earth, sometimes I have to double think what I actually believe. And like mothers love their kids, National has to do some kind of plan to make life more difficult for beneficiaries. Let's have a look at
pricks
at the new genius plan by the National Party to, help people, the most vulnerable, those who are at the bottom of the pile. Help them, really help them.
Benefits and medicines with a focus on the campaign trail today as the big political parties unveiled major policy announcements. National revealed a plan to crack down on people on benefits who don't look for
even that word, crack down.
work. It includes a traffic light system, green for those meeting obligations to prepare for or find work. Their benefit won't change. Orange for people who've breached those obligations once or twice. They'll get more targeted support. And red, where there's a third breach for not trying to find a job, offenders face having their benefits cut. Job seekers will also have to reapply for the benefit every 6 months. On the other side, Labor put the spotlight on the medicine cabinet. Chris Hipkins promising $1 billion of extra money for
if I'm being really honest, I think this is great. But I do kind of agree with the whole sort of lolly scramble. It's like, why wasn't this done a year ago? I mean, we've just been through this whole fucking health system crisis with COVID and stuff. I do kind of roll my eyes. I'll say this again. We've had this conversation before, is that Arnold Schwarzenegger was the best bodybuilder in the world for such a long period of time because he didn't do peaks and valleys. Like in the bodybuilding world, you do peaks and valleys. You train up to an event, and then you ease off, and then you go down, you train up to an event. The reason Arnold Schwarzenegger was the best was he trained up to an event and he stayed there the whole time. I just wish a fucking political party would make their pledges to an election and then just fucking stay up there. Like, why we have to save all these things for election time? Like, why wasn't this a year ago? Why doesn't a government run like it's always in election mode? In other words, looking for a way to help and give back to the people of New Zealand, not holding it all in for the last 6 weeks before the election. It does frustrate me. Although, $1 billion extra for Farmac, fucking awesome, great, amazing. But there's a part of me which kind of goes, we just want to, I want to get involved in politics and be an advisor to someone and say, let's run politics like Arnold used to train. Let's just stay up there the whole time and always just be pushing these things. That's what I'd want to see. Anyway, do you want to say anything before I push play again, Chewie? I ranted a bit there.
We will revisit this, but you know how I say that the only thing that National can do is go to their bad ideas cupboard?
Yeah.
This is we found this dusty fucking turd at the back of the thing. Let's brush that off. It's always been a winner for us in the past.
And then speaking to their base, we'll get to the end of the story, then we'll talk about the benefit one.
buying agency Farmac. It'll fund more medicines for more New Zealanders, including cancer treatment. Political editor Jessica Much-Mackay has more details and reaction.
Here comes Jess.
Can I switch out my red for blue?
Christopher Luxon's pitching for Kiwis to pick blue too. 6 days before voting starts, he's making a mess and making promises to sanction beneficiaries who break the rules.
Yeah,
I'd vote for him if he drank whatever
to the
that
taxpayers
was.
of New Zealand who are actually subsidising that and actually want to be able to support a safety net, not to have it, not to meet their obligations.
National says since it left office, there are 35,000 people who've been on the job seeker benefit for more than a year, at $340 a week.
You know, the thing is, and I'm sorry, I'm fuming, so I'm going to struggle to get through the whole thing. If I actually believed what they said, I'd give them some grace for the way they think it should happen, but I don't believe what they're saying. Like, they're selling the package like trying to help people do the right thing and be accountable. I just believe it's punitive and nothing else. I believe it's the National version of ACT wanting to build more prisons. You know, this is how National do it. It's one step further to the left than ACT, but it's still punitive. It's still, if you're unemployed and you're vulnerable, and you know, lots of people who are in that position aren't fully functioning. They may have issues that stop them from working, but it's a little bit like Indigenous, like Māori having to fit into a European system and it not working for them. Like, it's like there's a good portion of the unemployed or the unemployable that don't fit into this neatly fucking traffic light package that goes, they kind of go, well, there's only three possibilities here, 1, 2, or 3. Many people who are in that vulnerable position don't fit into your lovely 3 lit easy categories, and they're the ones who are already the most vulnerable, who this system will make it 1,000% worse for. I hate it. Sorry. Just want to share my thoughts there, Chewie. Should we keep going? Would you like to have a rant as well? Or do you want to save your rant for the next bit?
Please keep going on this.
Okay.
Is going to go
Here we go.
forever.
So it's promising changes. People will need to reapply for the benefit every 6 months rather than every year. They'll need documentation to prove they've applied for jobs and gone to job interviews, and there will be money management and mandatory community work if they don't listen to warnings.
When people aren't going to job interviews, they are not turning up to work and income, they are not attending training, no surprise, they're not going to get a job. You're not going to get a job if you turn up to a job interview in your pyjamas. And that is the story I heard from an employer last week.
Oh, I heard a story.
Dehumanising for people who are struggling. And
this is where I just want to be able to open up the back cupboard and have Chloe step out with all the research, because that was the anecdote. What does the research say?
doing their best.
It is continuing some of the cruelest, harshest, laziest politics that the National Party are continuing to push out there.
We're getting record numbers of people off benefits and into work. The National Party wants to sack all of the people who are involved in getting those people off benefits and into work.
So, Chewie, I might overshare tonight with something in my own life.
I'm definitely going to.
But I think I can actually see you've become more ginger in the last 4 minutes, so I'm assuming that there is lava boiling up in you, so I might just give you the floor to start with.
Can we just point out the fact that we're at a record low unemployment number at the moment?
Yep.
That there aren't enough jobs around, like, because we're at near full employment immediately after a global pandemic and a massive economic downturn. Can we just take a moment to appreciate that? So whoever's still absolutely fucking living the dream on $340 a week,
Yeah.
they might be what we would consider long-term unemployed. Maybe it just becomes like just really hard. Maybe you have some issues that are just going to count against you for getting employment. We are never going to have full employment. Like, unless we're going to press gang people into building railways again, it's not going to happen. They used to throw people in jail for that to get full employed. And it's just bringing back some of the cruelest policies. Can we just remember that the National got rid of sickness beneficiaries, right? They just all put them on JobKeeper.
Yep.
And nothing's been done to undo that, Labor. So all of those people that have a mental health condition or a physical condition that means that they can't work, they're all in that, and they're going to be fucking crunched on every 6 months by another new bureaucracy. You know, I've seen this in action. You know, I used to run a business in a low socioeconomic area, and I would see people that would come in and they'd go, "Got any jobs?" And I'd go, "No." And they'd go, "Cool, can you sign my WINZ form?" And that's because that's all the support they get from WINZ is someone cracking the whip going, "You've got to go and get a job interview or we cut your benefit off." And if you've got to go and see 6 or 7 businesses, whoever they fucking are, whether they're hiring or not, you have to get that form signed. And that's what it is. There's no support. There is a whip crack. You've got to come into the seminar or we cut your benefit off. You've got to fill out this form or you cut your benefit off. My own experience was when I lost my job and I had to go back to Timaru, and I didn't want to be unemployed, but I had registered for unemployment because that's what it's for, right? It's a safety net for all of us.
Yeah.
It's a safety net. And I was hustling to get a job. I could not get a full-time job in Timaru. I worked 3 part-time jobs. And most weeks I was ringing up WINZ every week going, "No, don't need a benefit today. Don't need a benefit this week." you know, hustle, hustle, hustle. But they were always like, you are not in full-time employment. So you've got to take a day off work to come to this seminar or we cut your benefit off. Oh, congratulations, Mr. Bennett. We've found full-time work for you. Oh, fantastic. I assume it's off the form that I said that I gave you with my skills and appropriate interests. Well, no, we've got you 3 months seasonal onion picking work, 200 kilometers out of town. You'll have to sort your own accommodation and you'll have to quit all 3 jobs you're doing. So you do that or we cut your benefit off.
Yeah.
There's no sympathy in that machine. You just get burned out frontline workers that are just shitting on people, and it will drive the people out of WINZ that want to help people. And we get back to, do not give people the social safety net. That is your job.
Yep.
It's cruel. It's ineffective. It hasn't worked before. It's literally the perfect national policy.
Well, let me project a little bit into the future, and this is where I'll perhaps overshare a little bit. I'm someone who receives help from the government to live, to sustain myself, based around 2 main factors. When I moved to Dunedin, I was married with kids, and we had planned to move to Dunedin, and my then wife was going to be working as a teacher. I was going to be building a business, and that would be how we traveled together. Within a couple of years, I was separated, went through a pretty hard time of depression and, you know, non-functioning myself. So one of the businesses completely failed and fell over. The other one actually technically is sort of still what we see today. It's a media type company. And so sort of from that day to this, I've been getting help from the government. Now, I live in Dunedin. There are, the centre of my work life would be Auckland, with the skill sets that I have, broadcasting and that sort of thing. In Auckland, I'd walk into a dozen jobs. My kids are in school in Dunedin. Their lives are in Dunedin. I'm in Dunedin. So what I'm trying to do is build a business to get off, you know, the remainder of the help that I get from the New Zealand government. Now, nowhere in their fucking traffic light system does it say anything about building businesses. It says job interviews. Well, if you're building a business, how do you do that? You know, it says come in for training. Well, with respect, you know, I have had numerous managerial jobs. I don't need to come in to check with you how to fill out an invoice sheet. But according to their 3-step system, I won't fit in. So a national government for me, well, what will end up happening is, you know, imagine this was a thing we were doing next year, 4 nights a week. We might have to cancel for the next 3 weeks because Pat's had to go out of town to pick onions, like Chewie just said, for the next 2 weeks. And then this service disappears because this service does not generate an income. Now, I'm not going to do a joke now and put up Patreon. It's not. I'm just giving you the hard cold facts of how this can impact not just the vulnerable. I don't consider myself vulnerable. I may be vulnerable financially from time to time, but I'm not a vulnerable person in general, right? I'm not at all. So I'm not that demographic of people who is the vulnerable ones. But when National comes in and they give, remember we've learnt this term from last week, simple solutions to complex issues. You have people who don't fit in, and often it's the most vulnerable in society, which isn't me, who don't fit into their simple solutions. And then you have another group of people, like, for example, me, who don't fit into their solutions either. And so then what happens to all of those people? Well, the most vulnerable, I would suspect, will drop off and get cut and end up being even more vulnerable. People like me who, and I mean, you know, I have this sort of holistic, universal type look on the world, who have sort of a gifting or a reason to be here, which is to do with media and broadcasting, will be shuffled into a job. And I'm not demeaning any kind of job, but will then be a wage earner, not adding to society, but fulfilling their criteria. And I don't think we as society should want our people who are adding to society, who are making society a better place, who are the artists of the world, who are the creatives of the world, who are the people who are going to make the next, I'm not talking about myself here, the next amazing thing that the whole country is going to enjoy, but they're not quite there yet, be forced into picking fucking onions. You know, I'm also not saying they can sit on their asses and do nothing either, but, you know, simple solutions to complex issues don't work in practicality, they work as a slogan in election time. The problem is when you make them as a slogan in election time, you then have to carry them out in practicality, Chewie.
You raise a good point. Is that I will tell you right now that the vast majority of creators, actors, artists, all of that sort of stuff are on some sort of job seeker benefit.
Sure.
You know,
there used to be one called the artists allowance.
Oh
when
yeah,
Labour
but we
was
can't
in.
be paying fucking artists to sit on their ass. Why aren't they working in a fucking factory?
Yeah.
This idea of this completely cultureless country, and we should all be making fucking road cones or something. I don't know. It's and for Louise Upston or whatever your name is to drop out a fucking anecdote of someone going to a job interview.
One person told me.
You know, I talk about people coming to that business that I was the manager of, looking for work, right? And I tell you how that can change, right? I got a young kid in, he come in and he just hit me with the got any jobs. And I was like, yeah, actually, do you have a CV? And he said, no. And I was like, okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to go home and write a CV and you're going to come back ready for the interview.
Yeah.
If you need help, go and tell your WINZ case officer that's what I told you to do.
Yep.
They will give you money to get interview clothes.
Yep.
Shoes, pants, shirt. If they haven't told you that, then that's on them and you can demand it. And then you come back with one piece of paper that tells me why I should hire you and one piece of paper that tells me what you're good at.
Yep.
That's what I want. And I thought, flip a coin. Will I see this kid again? He came back 2 days later, and I didn't have a place for him, but I knew a manager who did.
Oh, nice.
So I interviewed him. But this is the thing. It's like, why is WINZ not doing that? They're just cracking the whip to go and ask for a job, get the guy to sign it, job done. Then they're ticking boxes.
Yeah. Well, that's all the frontline staff will ever do.
Better over the last 6 months, but it's like the stories in the chat is just like it brings it all back. Where are we?
While you're looking for that, I want to just put something up because I said something that people have grabbed onto. Planet Walk. Wait, there's an artist allowance, or there was there was.
Well,
under Labour.
Didn't tell anyone.
No, Labour pushed it hard. I know people who lived in Mount Albert, and Helen Clark helped them get it through, and it was basically the dole. But when they put you onto the artist allowance, it meant that the criteria for what you had to do was kind of changed. Like I knew lots of musicians who were on the artist allowance, and because that's what they were doing, they were then able to go and make their music and travel and do stuff and earn more money from gigs and record albums, and they didn't have to turn up to WINZ to check a box, like Chewie saying. And then National got in and it got cancelled, and that just all got put back.
Have you guys noticed how little New Zealand music is around at the moment?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Point. Just saying, compared to 15 years ago.
Yeah,
maybe there's something in that. Yeah. Rob Burney here says, how many issues will be created by making all of these people reapply for the benefits so frequently?
Oh, bureaucracy, not bureaucracy. We don't like bureaucracy.
And I tell you what, there's nobody in the back room to shuffle those papers.
That's exactly right. So this is the point. When they do it, it's okay. When they talk about all these new bureaucrats, now they're going to double, triple, quadruple the work for WINZ people, whilst they get them out of the fucking back room. And then, and remember, there's other things for WINZ. They were going to assign them various caseworkers not that long ago and do another layer of bureaucracy. So when National wants to add bureaucrats, it's okay. But when Labour's done it, wrong. Get rid of them all. Get rid of them all. This is the shell game, people, that don't believe them. Because if someone says you can't do this and then they do the same thing, then they're hypocrites. They're not to be believed, as the polls would tell us tonight, Chewie.
Nakora here says the seminars are pointless too. You go there and they tell you to take a shower before an interview. Absolutely, it is.
You know what? There's a part of me which is like would love to just scorch earth at me. Can you explain that, please? So, what do you mean shower? What's the? What do you mean?
Sack back and crack.
Yep. What? Can you explain? How do you shower? Just scorch earth the fucking thing.
Now, say you're someone that has lost their job because the economists will say, in the banking the banks all decide that we need to lose 500,000 jobs to yay the economy. So you've got skills, right? And you have to go to the seminar, and they treat everyone at that level.
Yeah.
Hey, did you know you have to take a shower because you're disgusting, work-shy scumbags? Like, how is that for your self-esteem? How's that good for anyone? You know? What's their plan for unemployed disabled people? A shitty traffic light system.
Yeah.
Correct. And harassment.
Simple
Basically.
solutions to complex issues.
You know, this is in response to me telling my story about hustling for work and that sort of thing. Been there. Yes, Chewie, they treat you like forced labor. Yep. I didn't go back on the benefit when I lost my job because I didn't want to deal with WINZ.
Fair.
You know? Ricky 6 Foot here says, I took someone off the edge of ending it all after talking to WINZ recently.
Wow.
If they make it harder, they'll have less to look after, but the stats will go up.
But other stats will go up. Yeah, other.
Nicole
other.
says, I was underweight, pregnant, and the doctor wouldn't let me keep working. The benefit left me $1 a week for food. The case manager laughed and said, buy a bag of rice. I would jump the fucking desk.
Well, not if you're pregnant, maybe not.
You know, you're right. There's no full-time work out there. By the way, I'm debt-free, but also have zero savings. Why? Because all that money goes into rent, power, and internet. I rely on public transport and utility bills. Well, guess what? National just want to make your life more of a combat obstacle course.
Let me just offer something here, people. I feel a little bit of activism coming on. You guys who are in the chat right now, and it's uber busy, telling your stories right now. Your stories are important to tell to your neighbor and your family who don't know and your friends, because if the left vote, the left win. These stories need to get out to more people and go, remember last time National was in? Or it's already difficult with WINZ. This is my story. And it's like when you hear about like the word proselytizing, which is a kind of a churchy word for trying to convince people to believe your religion. The worst kind of proselytizing is the guy standing on the street corner shouting out, shut out, I believe it on, you get her. The best kind of proselytizing statistically is friend to friend. Talking to someone you know that you have a relationship with that can already trust you to convince them of an issue. You people with these stories should be sharing these stories and getting people to vote and using them in this time to up the number of votes. What did we hear last night? 27% of Māori didn't vote at the last election. Was that the right number? I think it might have been. If you're in that community, if you're in a whānau, this is your moment, man. I mean, this election is the rights to lose. The way they lose it, if that's not your bag, is the left votes. Tell your stories. Proselytize your friends. And this is the way that you make this a fair fight come election day.
My gut feeling is them dropping a policy like that, which is just, however you cut it, vicious, mean, is they see what's coming, is that they don't have any gas in the tank. So it's back to the greatest hits.
Yeah.
But this isn't fluffy, relatable Luxon. This is mean. This is we're going to come down on society's lowest because we want to draw fire away from our mates.
Yeah. And maybe also let's take focus off the tax issues, how our numbers don't add up. Let's take some issues away. Yeah.
The dead cat. They know that this isn't going to buy votes, but it's going to draw headlines away from how fucked their tax is.